Guys, I have baby citrus. These are all from Stan Mackenzie, whether it's the Carolina lime, the 10-degree tangerine, or the citramon. The 10-degree tangerine has yuzu in its lineage, which you can see here by the bump in the leaf. And the Carolina lime has trifoliate in its lineage, which you can see here. And the citramon has trifoliate in it as well, which makes them exceptionally cold hardy, and it makes them dwarf in size. Because they're so young, I'm actually going to protect them this year, but once they get about 3 feet high, I'm going to try to find a place in the ground for them. Moving over, I have a young Meyer Lemon that has actually grown pretty well this year, and you can see that it's still small, probably about 18 inches tall to 2 feet tall, and we are going to have to protect this with incandescent lights and frost cloth. Over here is a 3-year-old Owari Satsuma, and it has done tremendously well. And like all fruit trees, they grow exponentially. So despite it being 3 years old, and here's the graft line, it hasn't produced fruit yet, but I got its first flowers this spring, and I'm hopeful for next year. Then I have this huge Lila avocado, which has doubled in size since I planted it this year, probably reaching about 12 feet tall at this point. I'm concerned that it is the rootstock though, because it did die all the way back, and I think the rootstock took over. But you can see this thick woody trunk that'll actually help it be a little cold hardier. But it is not a citrus, but I'm gonna have to do something about it, even though it is one of the hardiest avocado varieties out there. If it is in fact a Lila avocado, or if it's on Mexican, like Mexicola avocado rootstock, it would be even hardier. I'm curious to see if it does in fact fruit for me, but I don't know if I'm actually going to prune it back because I want to see what kind of happens. Then of course the rest of my citrus, what I really want to talk about is how I'm going to overwinter this citrus as well, which is my Brown Select Satsuma, also extremely cold hardy. But these are container citrus. My Kimbrough Satsumas, my Sugar Bell Tangelo, my Yuzu, and then my Kaffir Lime, which is new. Oh, and then of course my Sanguielli Blood Orange. The Sanguielli and my Kaffir Lime are probably the least cold hardy of them all, then followed by the Tangelo. But Satsumas, Yuzus, and even the Tangelo are exceptionally cold hardy. And then I have one more trifoliate hybrid along my side yard here, which is my Dunstan Citramello, which is a grapefruit trifoliate hybrid. It's not a true trifoliate because it has this beautiful leaf pattern, which you can actually see a bump like you would on a yuzu, then the trifoliate leaf pattern with a dominating center leaf. So that's how you know it's not a true bitter orange, but it's a hybrid. It apparently makes nice grapefruit-like fruit, but this is the hardiest of all my citrus, I think, because I have left it in a pot outside all winter here in high teens and 20s, and it's done just fine. When I put it in the ground, it did even better. It actually kind of did a transplant shock, defoliated, and then grew 3 feet. So something amazing. I keep it hidden here on the northeastern corner of my house, which is kind of funny. It's my ability to test as much as I can cold hardiness of citrus. Pineapple guavas and pomegranates here and here. They do not need to be managed here in Wilmington Zone 8B. They do just fine on their own. This is Solivatsky pomegranates, which are the hardy Russian pomegranates. And then I have 2 different types of pineapple guavas because you have to have 2 different varieties in order to produce fruit from the flowers and pollination. So they will grow exceptionally well as well here in Zone 8B, and they're going to take up this whole accent wall. But we're not out of the woods with my citrus here, and I actually have 2 more citrus I didn't show you. Next to my olive tree, I have a Harvey lemon, which is quite cold hardy as well, but not hardy enough that it can be outside unprotected. The only other citrus tree that can be in the ground unprotected here in Wilmington, North Carolina, Zone 8B is this. And this is my Prague Citsuma instead of a Satsuma. And it is a chimera breed type where it is exceptionally cold hardy but produces sweet orange fruit. And it has a funny leaf pattern, a little bit thorny, it grows a little spindly, but I put it out here to prove that we can grow citrus unprotected here that tastes good here in Wilmington, North Carolina. The rest, however, probably could survive. They could easily survive a freeze, but I just want to hedge them for success. So I put them in my Zone 9A corridor, and I am going to protect it from any sort of freezes this winter. All right, guys, I have my Brown Select Satsuma that I really want to wrap in incandescent lights and a frost cloth for this upcoming freeze. Hey guys, so Satsumas are mandarin oranges that are known for their cold hardiness, frost tolerance, etc. And they can survive well into the 20s, low 20s, which is perfect for Wilmington, North Carolina, Zone 8B. They make delicious fruit. So think clementines, but larger, and they start to ripen right about now. So end of October, beginning of November, all the way into December, and they can actually stay on the tree ripe for long periods of time without drying out. Especially the Owari Satsuma, Kimbrough Satsuma, and this right here, the Brown Select Satsuma. The Brown Select was actually a cultivar that was established in Louisiana when they actually did hardy citrus groves back in the day down there, and it has been passed on for generations. I got mine from Stan McKenzie at McKenzie Farms, and I was inspired to grow citrus from the Millennial Gardener, so shout out to him as well. But here in Wilmington, North Carolina, it is an awesome fruit tree, and it will survive most winters unprotected. But if it dips into the teens, I don't want to risk it. So what I'm actually doing for the winter time is I'm going to wrap it in incandescent lights that emit a low amount of heat and energy. And I'm going to put a frost cloth over the top. That way it won't suffer a lot of dieback. And I can protect the flowers when it flowers in the early spring. And I can protect the fruit if I want to leave it on the tree for saving. But today I'm going to harvest the rest of these fruits. I'm going to try one with you guys. I'm going to show you how I care for this in the wintertime. It should be fine after this upcoming freeze. I'm not too concerned about it for a lot of the citrus I have. But since it's still a younger tree, and I want to do an example video for when it does get really cold on how to protect it all winter. Because once you put the frost cloth and the lights on it, you're safe to go all the way until spring with the last chance of frost. And so I am going to do that with this tree right now for you guys. So first things first, I still have a bunch of fruit on my other citrus trees. I'm going to go ahead and harvest it. Citrus does really well if you use clippers or another tool to prune it off the tree. That way you don't create scarring. And I have these 3 beautiful oranges that I am going to share with you and my family. In case you're curious, you can grow market quality oranges in the ground in North Carolina. That is so cool. So thank you, Stan McKenzie. Thank you, Millennial Gardener, for introducing me to this. And now I get to share it with all of you on how I get these things dialed, because citrus trees do not require nearly as much watering as everything else that I grow. They're more like my olive trees, where once they're in the ground, I just let them grow. And we get a sufficient amount of rain here that I don't have to worry about watering them in the summer. They actually like better draining soil in the containers, and then they do just well in the ground here. They have a sufficient amount of moisture in the ground. So now they got the fruit here harvested. What's great about these Satsumas is they have the zipper skin, and it peels right off. Oh, look at that zest coming off. These are so good, guys. And they're like plump, full of sugar. Look at that. Can't beat it. Guys, North Carolina grown oranges in my backyard every year. And all I have to do is a simple protection measure for the winter time, and I'll have them the next year. So while I'm enjoying these oranges, we'll go ahead and start wrapping this with incandescent lights. I am using these Christmas lights, and they're a specific type of Christmas light that's incandescent, which means it is different than your LEDs. They both produce lights, but in a different way. And the incandescent lights actually emit a low amount of heat. Not a lot, we're not talking fire hazard heat here, but just enough to keep things at just above freezing, and which is perfect for these citrus trees. Again, like I said, Satsumas can survive well into the 20s, low 20s. If you want to risk it, I think you'll be okay. But once they start getting flowers and fruits and they're young, you want to protect those. Since I harvested all of these fruits, I'm less concerned about it. And it's a beautiful day here, but it's about to get below freezing tonight. But for here, one key you want to do is you want to wrap all the leaves and create a well-rounded distribution of heat. So I'll see if I can do like the lollipop method, where I wrap the top kind of wrap in this like pattern around it all and make sure that no section of leaves is uncovered. All right, that looks really good, guys. So you can see all the lights that I've wrapped around here. And I have extra lights. And this is long enough that I'm actually going to connect it to my baby Ichang Lemon here. And maybe even to this Owari Satsuma. And then my plug and outlet is over there. And I'm going to run an extension cord right to there. So let's see if I can do that as well. There's one final piece that I want to show you for ultimate winter protection for your hardy citrus. The one final piece is frost cloth, and you can get it in the form of a bag at any big box store like this, and it will be draped right over, and it'll protect the leaves from any frost damage, but it'll also help insulate the heat that's being emitted from the incandescent lights. And what we have here is a big holiday looking lollipop. And sure enough, here we are with a nice protected orange tree. And all that green material, that's what matters the most, is that the green growth is protected. That trunk is important too, but it's a little hardier than the green growth stuff that is new, not really lignified, doesn't have the same hardiness level. So that's why I call it a lollipop, because you can actually like wrap it around the base. There you go, one orange tree, Brown Select Satsuma, so hardy orange, North Carolina, Zone 8B, and you could probably do this in Zone 8A. You could probably even get away with this in Zone 7B, but I don't want to take too much accountability for that because I don't grow in that cold overgrowing zone with citrus. But this is about as easy as it gets if you're in the Southeast and when you grow your own citrus. It's an amazing and delicious fruit that is sweet, and you can harvest it all winter long, or you can harvest all the fruits in the fall and then protect it and overwinter it like this. Incandescent lights wrapped around all the leaves, and then a frost cloth on top. And not only is it seasonal, but it works. And you can do this all the way into March when we start exiting our freeze period. I will say, be careful in March and April. You want to make sure that any flowers that bloom on this or small fruits are protected from any sort of freeze or frost damage. So make sure you're out of your window of getting a late season freeze before removing any of this. The fruits and flowers are more susceptible to cold damage than the tree itself, which will survive in the winter. I'm going to connect the rest of these to my other citrus, and they're all going to look like this. And I am going to be set for winter, and I'm going to have citrus all winter. The ones in containers, I'm going to move into the garage, and I'll show you that real quick. In the wintertime, this citrus and this citrus, they can all easily fit in my garage next to those pepper plants I stored, which is right next to my Phil's Fig shipping facility for all the cuttings and fig trees I send to you guys. But I have plenty of citrus to eat, and I'm going to protect these trees when it freezes by bringing them inside tonight. Otherwise, the rest of my citrus, I'm going to protect like so, that you just watched with me. If this was helpful for you in growing fruit trees in your backyard, subscribe, like, reach out with questions. I'm here to help you grow your own figs, fruit trees, and favorite garden varieties. Cheers, Fig fam.